Congratulations! You made the varsity, the podcast. My name is John Arand, and I'm Puck's sports correspondent and host of this pod. And today, I made sure to get JT Batson on the pod. JT runs the U.S. Soccer Federation. He's been CEO and Secretary General for 4 years now. And coming off such a massively successful World Cup, I wanted to take his temperature on what U.S. soccer can do to take advantage of all this popularity. But before we get to JT, today is Wednesday, July 22nd, and here's what I'm watching. In keeping with the soccer theme of this podcast, it's all about who will lead Major League Soccer as it heads into what it calls MLS 3.0. The well-respected Don Garber's contract runs out at the end of next year, and Korn Ferry has gone through a months-long search to find his replacement. That search, which contacted everyone from media executives to league executives to soccer folks, is now down to 2 people. There's LAFC co-owner Larry Berg, a well-connected and smart executive who's considered the current frontrunner to land the job. He already is a big voice on the powerful Sporting and Competition Committee. But there's also the well-respected media executive David Nathanson, who used to work at Fox and is widely credited with the great deal to bring the FIFA World Cup over to Fox in the mid-teens. A third candidate, 49ers front office executive Parag Maratha, he pulled his name from consideration last week after I broke the news on X and that he had made the final 3. Now, a final vote is due early next month. We should know in a few weeks exactly who will lead the league into its MLS 3.0 era. Now, this is an important choice as the league tries to capitalize on the success of a domestic World Cup, including flipping the calendar to mirror other international leagues, and I expect increasing the amount of money that teams can pay players. The league's CBA is up next year, and its Apple deal is over at the end of 28-29. A lot to do. Okay, now, let's get to JT Batson. JT Batson, thank you for joining the pod. We are talking on Monday, the day after the World Cup final. What a month it's been. The superlatives are off the table. And this is my first question is basically take a bow. Walk us through. You can take a victory lap over sort of the performance of the World Cup in the U.S. or Did it go according to plan? Was this what you were expecting? What sort of surprises were out there? I'll just let you sort of open up with that.
Well, sure. Well, John, you were one of the folks who were predicting this was going to be a wildly successful summer. And, all of our data, all of our anecdotes show that this is a soccer country. And the results of this summer showed that. And what was so great about it is it allowed the rest of the world to fall in love with America, America to fall in love with the rest of the world, and countries that people, couldn't even put on a map 6 weeks ago. One of the cooler things that allowed people to fall in love with their own cities again. And the way this tournament, the way our team brought the country together, the excitement, the momentum, the scale, the energy, the impact is awesome. And so it's been a ton of fun. We're obviously excited for what's next for soccer in America. Of course, we're excited for the Women's World Cup next summer and everything to come. But we also want to celebrate what was a truly awesome tournament. FIFA and everyone involved in putting this off, from the host cities to the governments to volunteers to sponsors, of course, players and everyone involved. Pretty darn awesome. And we're super proud about everything we've been a part of.
So JT, before the tournament started, there were a ton of stories that suggested that things might not go as according to plan. Stories about ticket prices, unsold tickets, unsold hotel rooms. There was an official that wasn't allowed entry into the referee that wasn't allowed entry into the United States. At what point did you realize that wasn't going to matter? Is there a point where you're like, okay, this is going according to plan? This is, or were you able to ignore that, or is that something that you didn't ignore? You wanted to sort of dive into it. Like, what was your mindset going into the tournament?
Well, I think, you always want to listen and making sure you're keeping the ear to the ground to making sure that you're setting yourself up for the best opportunity for success and making sure you're delivering amazing experiences to everyone involved in the tournament. That said, this is not my first rodeo. Been a part of a couple of these now, and you've seen in the build up to every major tournament, there's no soccer going on yet. So the only thing to talk about are challenges and risks and things that might go wrong. And then once the tournament starts, all the things go right that can go right. The soccer is amazing. The fans are incredible. The culture of the sport and the culture of the countries involved are incredible, and the joy and energy and passion that comes from that. Like you, I was always very bullish that once this World Cup got rolling, everyone was going to love it. Everyone was going to experience the joy that is this tournament, the great cities, the great stadiums, the amazing sort of bars and watch parties and fan fests and all the things that people got to experience this summer, or in certain instances, Walmart for the first time, and barbecue, and Buc-ee's, and all of the great stories of people from around the world,
Ranch dressing,
loving
JT.
ranch dressing. I will say, the ranch dressing that they offer the men's national team, if that was what was on offer to fans, they would not have fallen in love. It is way too healthy to be something that the rest of the world would have fallen in love with.
So, as you look back over the last month, what's one memory that just sticks out for you? Like, what is the picture of this World Cup in your mind?
There are a couple different ones. One is a picture from the Seattle March to the Stadium with the U.S. fans, where there were tens of thousands of fans marching from downtown Seattle to the stadium. And there was data that came out after the tournament, or after the game, that was the most number of people ever in downtown Seattle since they started counting. And just the throngs of people who wanted to be a part of it. And then the other, sort of image sort of seared in my mind is our players on the field after the first game, and the fan support and the energy and just the smiles and the emotion and everything were just everything sort of came together in a way that people just were like, okay, we're here. This is a new level ambition for what soccer is in this country. Let's go. That just kicked off this summer, and it's been a heck of a ride.
All right. So, what can you do as the head of U.S. Soccer to capitalize on all of this?
So the way that we like to think about this is that this summer is the kickoff to the American soccer movement. We've got the Men's World Cup, which just wrapped. You've got LA 28, and you've got the Women's World Cup, which we're the only bidder for 2031, which is a 5-year window that looks a whole lot like 94, Olympics in 96, and Women's World Cup in 99, which, as we know, transformed soccer in this country. And so this opportunity we have now is to take advantage of the fact that America has all of the ingredients to be one of the world's great soccer countries. And we've got to use this 5 years to go do all the things to build the system that produces that reality. And I think what gives me, great belief and great confidence coming out of this summer is all the people who are required to say yes to that to be true now are all calling to help. They want to lean in. So it's school districts to put soccer in schools. It's communities to build fields. It's pro clubs to lean in around youth development. It's sponsors and media partners who want to invest. It's donors who want to make transformational gifts to make soccer the most played sport in every community, and to make sure that we're building the best possible affordable pathway for our country. And so the energy and the excitement from this summer and the scale of it has given people real belief that this is a sport worth investing in, and that gives me incredible confidence that we're onto something really big here.
Okay, so when I evangelize about the potential for soccer in the United States, because really that 1994 tournament, it birthed a league,
Yep.
but the pushback that I get is, we've heard this before. We heard this 4 years ago, and we heard this 8 years ago, and 12 years. Keep going on, we've been hearing since Pele laced them up for the New York Cosmos in the 1970s. Like, what would you tell them? What's different about where U.S. soccer is right now today in 2026?
Well, I think, this summer proved the scale of the addressable market for soccer in this country. So there were 15 games of 20 million or more audience, 5 games of 30 million, 2 games of 40, and of course our game against Belgium, over 50 million people watched that. And as you know, that's anyone who listens to this knows that's 2x the NBA Finals, 3x the World Series, and so the scale of audience from this summer, I think, gave people a real proof point as to how many people love soccer. And it's not just how many people love the U.S. team. Of course, we were the highest, but a large number of those games that had eye-popping audiences were games that didn't involve the U.S. and didn't involve Mexico. And so the interest in our sport is real. And now it's our opportunity to really lean into that, to build all the things that need to be true for us to be one of the great soccer countries. And let's make no mistake, there is a lot of work to do. We in no way, shape, or form are at the finish line. Soccer has to be way more affordable, has to be way more accessible. We need way more opportunities for kids to play best against best. We need way greater alignment across our pathways and across all the different parts of soccer in this country. We need way more investment. We need governments to be more involved. We need school districts to be more involved. So there's lots of work to do, but I think this summer has given people the belief that that work is going to be worthwhile and they want to lean in to help.
So earlier, when you answered the question, you referenced getting school districts to have teams and build fields you know, I have to say that all the schools my kids went to, they all had soccer teams. The youth program, I think, has been very. All kids play soccer. It seems, with the orange slices and whatnot. What exactly are you talking about? Is it about sort of almost more professionalizing that, or professionalizing is probably not a good word because you just talked about
Sure.
the need to bring the cost down, but you know what I mean, just sort of making it a little bit
Sure.
more structured.
Well, more kids played soccer last year than ever in our history. So 24 million people played soccer. That's larger than I think half the countries who played in the World Cup. And so we do have an incredible scale of participation of soccer in this country, and of course a rich history of that. We also know that that's not available to every American, and it's certainly not. Soccer is not the number one played sport in every community across this country. And I think part of the reason why we're so focused on schools and parks and other community nonprofits are that's where kids are. And if we want all kids in America to have access to this sport, including kids who today are becoming NBA players or NFL players, we have to be in every community. And to do that, you have to be where kids are. And so when we talk about schools, it's not just about high school programs, because you're right. At this point, most high schools have soccer teams. It's also about how do you get them in elementary schools? How do you get them in middle schools? How is soccer an after school program? How is soccer an opportunity for boys and girls to learn different life skills in a way that, even if you're never going to play for a national team, you're developing a love for the game very early on. And so, there is real opportunity there, in particular in neighborhoods where, soccer maybe isn't the first sport that people think of. And so, school districts have really been stepping up. So right before the World Cup, LA Unified School District announced they're rolling out soccer at every school. Oakland's now announced. Atlanta's now announced. We have some other major markets who are announcing over the coming weeks. And literally hundreds have signed up to work with us on how they roll it out all across the country. Literally millions and millions of kids are now going to have access to soccer in communities where they never had access to it before by virtue of this initiative. And I will point out that this is an initiative that was underwritten by Bank of America. So here's an example of a corporate partner saying, we care about soccer outcomes. We care about getting way more kids playing. We care about access. We also care about developing the next generation. And so we want to partner with you to help drive soccer outcomes. And so we have all these great examples of partners stepping up like that. And so, yeah, schools are a critical part of how we reach the next generation and how we solve for what has been true for so long, and that soccer certainly has been prevalent in the suburbs. There have been great communities where soccer has been, a key part of the childhood, but we also know there are plenty of areas where that's not been the case, and we want to go attack that head on.
I think you just answered this, but the U.S. soccer's role in doing this, is it to get corporations like Bank of America to underwrite stuff like this. What do you think your main role is in helping this to develop?
So U.S. Soccer views our role as being in service to soccer. Our job is to support those who are bringing soccer to life in communities all across this country. And more specifically, we view ourselves as a catalyst. We view ourselves as a convener. We view ourselves as someone who can help spur people to action. And you take some of the examples of the soccer at schools, it's very often school district plus local nonprofit plus U.S. soccer plus corporation working together to bring soccer access to people all across the country. And so, that's really our job is to, be a champion for soccer in all forms, and to make sure that literally every community in this country is in a position to achieve their soccer goals. And when we think about that, we think that that requires local governments, local businesses, philanthropists, local nonprofits, and of course, local pro clubs and soccer organizations working together to get more fields built, to get more kids playing in schools, to get more kids playing recreationally, and building the youth pathways. So for those players who want to play pro, who want to play for the national team, we have very clear pathways for them that are accessible, that are affordable, that are high quality, that produce some of the world's great players that can go win us World Cups. And so, that's the opportunity we have in front of us. That's what we view our role as U.S. Soccer, and we're really excited by all the people who've raised their hand and say we want to help.
The cost of youth sports is not unique to soccer at all. In fact, I've had a bunch of PE guys appear on this show, a bunch of financial guys, and they all talk about like, wow, the ceiling in youth sports to invest money and really kind of make money is, it's driving the costs up. It seems. What in fact, Alexi Lalas and a couple of people reach the public airwaves during the World Cup. What can you do to get the costs down when this is systemic of AAU basketball or little league baseball and a lot of other sports as well?
Sure. Well, I think a couple things. One, I love the fact that soccer is now so popular and the performance of our team is so important to people that our youth pathways and their quality and their accessibility was front and center in the national airways for days and days and days and days. So that is amazing. And so, because as you know, when things become an agenda item, you can actually mobilize the energy and the resources to go attack it. And so, that discourse, that those headlines, and certainly all the sound bites, amazing, love it, more of it, please. And I think the opportunity is to embrace the fact that the U.S. has a history of coming together to do big things. And a couple sports examples, basketball is super accessible. Why? Because we put basketball hoops in every park and every school. So that's taxpayer money making basketball super accessible. We also spend $3 to $5 billion a year of taxpayer money on high school football in this country. Think about how many soccer academies we could have all across America for $3 billion. And so we know that when we want to do something, we have the ability to do this at great scale in this country. Now, we also know that U.S. Soccer, there are things that we can do to help drive down costs, that help create the right incentives, that bring the right sort of energy and focus to sort of what youth soccer should be about. So for young kids, it should be around more smiles and more touches on the ball. So think more small-sided games, more opportunities for you to play in your backyard or in your neighborhood or in your school, and where the focus is around developing that lifelong love of the game, and get as many touches on the ball and building your confidence that soccer is the sport for you. And then, of course, as you get older, we have an opportunity to create very clear, aligned pathways with our pro clubs and pro leagues, where the best of the best get an opportunity to play together on a regular basis in every community across this country. And we get a chance to create a new system that is accessible, that is affordable, and that benefits from the fact that soccer is a global market. One of the things that folks who aren't soccer nerds don't appreciate is how big the global transfer market is in soccer. And so there's money floating around and flying around that uh, great players, as they progress in their career and go play for great clubs, that money gets redistributed back to the clubs who helped build them. So in addition to government money, philanthropic money, commercial money, we also get to tap into the global soccer market as a way to help fund world-class pathways. And so I'm very bullish about the opportunity. I know it's going to be a lot of work. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of sort of omelets that need to get made here. But this summer has given me the confidence that we are going to be able to resource this, and the people that we need to say yes want to lean in and say yes to build this great system.
I love that, JT. You don't talk about cracking eggs. You just go straight to the making of the omelets. That's a
Heck yeah.
that's a positive outlook. I appreciate that. One of the things that I think you've been really super successful in during at U.S. Soccer is, just getting a lot of these big moneyed corporations, and Arthur Blank underwrote the training facility down in Atlanta, which is really important to U.S. Soccer as well. What is that sort of? What has your approach been in terms of? Because especially after the World Cup, I imagine like you're order taking almost, but before the World Cup, you had to get out and do it. What's your strategy with that?
Well, I think we're fortunate that there are a lot of people in this country who care about soccer and who care about the success of the men's and women's national team program. And one of the things that I knew, but it really hit me as I've been in this role now almost 4 years, is we're now at a generational shift where the people who are running big companies, who are running nonprofits, who are running governments, they're soccer people. Uh, and in the old days, they were baseball, basketball, football, golf. Maybe they had kids who played, but they were not soccer people. And now, as you run through some of the world's great corporations, many of whom aren't even partners of ours, uh, they are soccer people through and through. They have teams that they support. They grew up playing, their families play. And so we have a generational shift of people who care about the sport, who now have the ability to invest in the sport in ways that have never happened before. And so to earn their money, we needed to prove that we could go do big things and we could be good stewards of their capital. And the example of Arthur and the National Training Center is a great one, because while Arthur and his family and company donated $50 million, we also had to bring hundreds of millions of dollars from corporations like Coca-Cola or Home Depot, or other philanthropists like Dan Cathy donating the land, or Michelle Kang and her very generous support, or the state of Georgia or Fayette County and Fayetteville, to be able to bring all those people together to be able to build what is the best training facility in the world now. We went from having nothing to the best in the world because we brought together the best of America, philanthropists, corporations, governments, all working together to go do something great. And we wanted that to be a great case study of, one, the new ambition of U.S. Soccer, and it's sort of a physical manifestation of our ambition, but also a case study of what happens when people invest in us. And something I've shared with everyone involved in that project is, anyone in business who's built anything always remembers those who bet on them early. And everyone I just mentioned and more, bet on us early that we could go do big things as U.S. Soccer, which would ultimately benefit soccer in America. And coming out of this summer, the momentum, the excitement, the energy, and the proof points we've had over the last few years that we can go do big things is why people want to step up. And I think for folks on this podcast who are savvy in sports business, what's been exciting is our partners have been calling and saying, hey, we want to support, not in a traditional sponsorship rights deal. We want to inject money into the system. How do we go build out the best youth pathways? How do we get way more kids at a younger age falling in love with the sport? How do we support people in their journey from a player development standpoint? All these things that ultimately require resources. It's not a coincidence that the teams that do the best typically are in the best funded federations. So if we want to win, we need to make sure we have the resources to go win. Fortunately, as you know, this is the biggest sports market in the world. And so America should be in a position where we can put the most resources to work to ultimately help us achieve our goals.
Now, JT, I've spilled barrels of ink writing about MLS 3.0 and sort of the next step of Major League Soccer, the domestic soccer league. How important is that to everything that you've talked about, the growth of U.S. soccer, in terms of just getting MLS? Where would you put them right now? Top 10 or so? But they want to be, in terms of being an international league, they want to be in the top 5, 4, 3. Like, how important is that to you and what you're trying to build?
uh, the success of Major League Soccer is absolutely critical to the success of U.S. soccer. And so, any chance I get an opportunity to share with folks who care about the success of our men's national team, uh, you care about the success of Major League Soccer and you care about the young players who are being developed in the academies, who are playing for our youth national teams, who are going to be our stars of tomorrow, who we need to be among the best players in the world so that we can go win World Cups. And, if you look at the two teams in the final, or you look at the four teams in the semifinals, what are some things they have in common? Obviously, incredible soccer cultures, great history. They have incredibly vibrant professional leagues and academy systems. And soccer is clear from a pathway standpoint and accessible to everyone who wants to play. And so, for us to be successful as a soccer country, we need MLS and USL to be successful on the men and boys side, and of course NWSL and USL to be successful on the women and girls side. And so, if you haven't fallen in love with an MLS or an NWSL or USL team yet, but you care about the success of our national team, go find a young player to support and follow that team. We need these leagues to be best in the world so that we can achieve our ambitions as a soccer country.
Uh, I'm going to ask you sort of a two part question here. MLS launched 30 years ago, 1996. Has the timetable for where MLS, from the MLS launch to where it is now, has that worked for you? And also, moving forward, what's your timetable for having the U.S. be considered like having a team that could be legitimately one of the final four?
So my first professional soccer was the Charleston Battery which is in a high school football stadium in downtown Charleston. And to think about, and I remember my teammate for the Augusta Arsenal, where we watched the first MLS game on television together, San Jose. And to think about where we were in professional soccer in this country then relative to where we are now, I'd have bitten your hand off. I mean, to think about how far this sport has
Those poor
come, and you
DC
think about,
United players from the mid '90s, they had to dodge raccoons while kicking the ball in RFK Stadium.
oh, and I went to many of those games, and always muggy, usually after a rainstorm, and slightly concerned for your safety in the stadium. But the maybe think about where we were relative to where we are now. I mean, we have come so far. And now, of course, we have a long way to go, and we shouldn't sort of wave our hands and say we don't have a lot of work to do. We don't have challenges. Of course we do. But as you think about the progress of the sport, it's been unbelievable. Because what everyone has to remember is soccer's the challenger sport in our country, and we are the challenger country in our sport. So you're competing against all these incredible sports here. And of course, you're competing against other countries that have these amazing professional leagues, these amazing ecosystems, these amazing national teams. And so it's not a static market. And so I often say, yes, we have gotten a lot better, but so is everybody else. And so if we want to win, we have to get better faster. And so that puts a sense of urgency on this that I think is important to remember, while we also can certainly celebrate the amazing progress we've made, which is why I think we can have credible belief that we ultimately can go win. And so I think to your question, the What we're focused on is how do we use this next 5 years as what we're thinking about as the American soccer movement, where we use this as an opportunity to make all the things true that we believe need to be true for us to be one of the great soccer nations in the world. And of course, one of the great soccer nations includes teams that are competing for World Cups. And of course, our women will go into next summer as one of those who is expected to really go compete and hopefully win. And of course, we want to be in a position where our men's team is doing that. In the more immediate future, I want everyone who cares about the success of our men's team and women's team to focus on the U17 World Cups, which happen every year now, and the U20 World Cups, which happen every other year, and then the men's Olympics, and of course the women's Olympics, but the men's Olympics is U23. So these are some opportunities for our stars of tomorrow to go compete against the best in the world and build that culture of winning and learn what it takes to can go compete and win at a World Cup. And for us to focus on how many communities in this country are adopting pathways that help us identify the best players, support them in their journey, and to where we have, instead of a couple thousand kids experience against best opportunity, hundreds of thousands of kids doing that, so that we benefit from the scale of our country and we have the opportunity to produce the great players that go win World Cups. As Arsene Wenger shared when we did a press conference together last week, Arsene, of course, is a legendary former manager of Arsenal and now the global head of football development of FIFA. He reminded us all that these plans take time, their work, you got to commit. But he saw firsthand from his experience in France, 10 years from when they started their new academy model to 10 years later when they've won their first Euros. And so we know that if we commit and we really commit to do the hard work, that this ultimately will pay off, just like it has for women's soccer through the benefit of Title IX. And so we know large scale bets by this country can pay off in soccer.
Is it hard for you to be patient?
Extremely.
How do
the
you do it?
the
Because we are talking about like decades long process to get the U.S. in
I don't think
place.
I don't think it's decades. I think we have so many good things now. 30 years ago was decades,
Hmm.
but based on all the progress we've made, if you break it down, the last U17 Boys World Cup, FIFA's technical report rated the U.S. team as one of the best teams in the tournament, and there were as many players developed in America playing in the tournament as any other country, because some of the players who grew up here, of course, can play for other countries. And so the U.S. Has made huge strides on the boys' side of producing great 14, 15, 16-year-olds. The opportunity that we have in front of us is how do we turn those great players into great pros? And so there's a big area of focus around 17 to 21, 22-year-old players to make sure that we have the best opportunities for them to play real minutes and real environments to continue to develop so that we are producing world-class stars. And so, as you break down the challenges and opportunities and kind of component parts, we have things that we can do that have more near-term impact. We've got some mid-term impact, and of course, we've got longer-term impact. But we're now in a position where soccer is of scale in this country and quality in this country where I think we can start to see some results sooner, like on the Youth World Cups, uh, as well as the number of our young players who are playing real minutes in first team environments, whether it's in MLS or NWSL on the women's side or USL or around the world. These will be some signs that we're on the right track to where in the future, as we're going into a men's World Cup, we're not just believing that we could go on a run. We also believe that we could actually go win.
So that's why I've heard you reference the LA 28 before and the importance of that tournament. The U23, like you want a good showing there to as almost a proof of concept that this is then going to be sprinkled forward.
Absolutely, and one of our goals is to invest in our fans as sophisticated soccer consumers. And I grew up in the South, and college football is a huge part of the DNA. And I know people can recite their recruiting rankings and who their top prospects are, and now transfer portal and all these things that, or of course, NFL, you got the draft and you got all of the stuff with that. we have to educate our soccer fans why the U17 and U20 World Cups matter. We have to educate them on why these young players getting real minutes in real environments is critical for us to ultimately win. And we want them to hold us accountable and ultimately hold the clubs and everyone who cares about soccer in this country accountable for making those things true. Because that's ultimately how we're going to win. If we want to, I know there are many folks who are fans of college football who know that if you want to win, you got to have the best players. Of course, coaching matters, and history and tradition and culture, of course, are very important. So if we want to win, just like we have an unbelievable number of the top players in the world on the women's side, we need to be in a position where that's true on the men's side. And I know I referenced Title IX earlier, but I think it's important to remind everyone that a critical reason why we have been world leaders in women's soccer is because the federal government decided it was important in this country that every woman and every girl had an opportunity to play sports in world-class environments, just like it was for every boy. And that meant that a girl growing up in America had opportunity to play sports, and in particular to play soccer at greater scale and better environments than anyone else. And of course, that has produced wonders. It's produced generations of great leaders and great Americans. And of course, it's produced the best women's program in the world, the U.S. women's national team. And so, if you look at other countries where they're successful on the men's soccer side or on the women's soccer side, it's a similar scale of investment of government, of business, of sort of civil society coming together to make it to where soccer is at the forefront of their culture. And I think the success of this summer is going to get people to commit to doing that even more on the women's side, and of course, doing that on the men's side too.
Next year in Brazil, the Women's World Cup is going to, and the U.S. team certainly has to be considered one of the favorites moving in there. How does it, how does your approach to that World Cup differ from it's difficult because this is a domestic men's World Cup, but a typical men's World Cup where making the quarterfinals is a big success for the U.S. men right now.
Well, I think before the tournament, people ask what's success for the team, and I said over and over again the success is making kids want to put on the jersey, making people want to paint their face, have people want to run around with a flag, and I think they far exceeded that in terms of people being proud, people believing, and people wanting to be a part of that. And I think that's true for our women's team. They want people to be proud. They want people to believe. And of course, they want to win. And there's an incredible culture of winning. And, Emma and our team and the coaching staff have built a great game plan around how to go do that. We've got in your neck of the woods, John, in October, the defending World Cup champs and the defending Olympic champs, U.S., Spain, playing in DC and in Philadelphia. Those games are almost already sold out. They just went on sale. Those will be incredible opportunities. We have all these great opportunities to prepare the team for the best position of success. We also, like the Men's World Cup, we want to make it to where every American feel part of this tournament and feel connected to the team. And then, of course, we want to use it as a legacy opportunity. So how does this further this American soccer movement? And in particular, how do we continue to lead from a women and girls standpoint to where we have a integrated women and girls strategy to where all girls and all women in this country get to benefit from this sport, whether you're someone who plays or someone who loves the team or someone who's going to benefit from the great research, the great learning that come from the work we're doing. So huge opportunity, but same model of make sure the team's in the best position to be successful, making sure all of our fans can feel part of it, and then making sure we use next summer to accelerate the legacy of what this sport can be.
U.S. Soccer, of course, oversees both the men's and the women's national team. How does your approach to those two teams differ? What's different in terms of how you approach them, or is it the same strategy that you put on both?
Well, the strategy for our men's and women's teams, of course, are driven by our coaching staff in collaboration with the other technical leaders and, of course, the organization more broadly. And each one of our 27 national teams, so we have 27 national teams, of course, our youth national teams, we're the world leader in disability soccer, and we also have beach and futsal teams. Each one of those teams has their own program plan and strategy based on what their competition cycle looks like, and where they are in their journey. So as an example, beach and futsal are newer, whereas of course women's national team, well established, very clear cadence of major competitions. And so how you think about each team and exactly what their focus is in the near term, medium term, and long term is going to be a little different, kind of where they are and kind of what their competitions look like. That said, uh, our men's and women's national teams share a core identity of wanting to inspire the country, wanting to use soccer as a force for good, and ultimately they want to win. And so each one of their plans is designed to put the teams in the best position to do that. And we're fortunate, and of course, to have a world-class manager in Emma Hayes. And of course, we've been public that we're in discussions with Maurizio and his staff around the go forward, and we're really excited about what that can look like.
Yeah, I have a question about the Maurizio, and there have been reports out there. You've talked about it, sort of. You want to extend them.
Sure.
Take me inside U.S. soccer. How do you come to that decision? Is it real corporate? Are you all in a sort of a conference room, just sort of figuring out like what's the process for this to happen?
So, I think we've talked publicly around the fact that on a monthly basis, we have a succession planning meeting where for key roles, including CEO, you're thinking through what are interim solutions, what are sort of renewal or extension solutions, and what are potential succession solutions. And so this is something we're doing on a regular basis. So that good, well-run organization should do that for all of their key roles. And I'm really excited that we're in a position where we have the capacity to be able to do that now. So good. So now, as we think about you're now at the end of a contract, or you're needing to be in a position where you need to think through: do you want to extend a contract? Like any good organization, you bring diverse perspectives into the thinking as to what are the goals for that role, and what are the responsibilities of that role, and then how do you think about who the right person is for that. And so we will engage our alumni, we will engage sporting experts from around the world, we'll engage pro clubs and their owners, we'll engage, of course, our technical leaders, whether it's Emma, whether it's, of course, Gooch, whether it's Tracy and Barry, who lead our men's and or women's pathways, respectively. And so, you bring a pretty broad-based set of folks to the table to define what success looks like, and also make sure that you've got good and diverse feedback to make sure you're confident in the leadership decisions you're making going forward.
JT, after the month that was, I was desperate to get you on this pod to talk about the World Cup and sort of the way forward. Looks like U.S. soccer is in good hands. Can't thank you enough for joining us, and I'll see you at the women's game here in D.C., I suppose.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
All right, I want to run through the thanks. Thanks to JT Batson for joining this week. Thanks to Peter Drummond for all his work in getting this set up. And thank you for listening to The Varsity, an Odyssey podcast in partnership with Puck. I want to acknowledge executive editors from Puck, Gabi Grossman, Ben Landy, John Kelly, the great Bob Tabador from Odyssey, and our partners at Nesson, Matt Colpitz and Greg Poth. If you like this podcast, sign up for my newsletter. It's also called The Varsity. Go to puck.news, use the code word The Varsity, all one word, you'll get a 20% discount, and I'll see you on Sunday.